think we're live.
I think we're live. Hello, hello. You wanna take on the introduction, sir?
Welcome to the Comics Foo Show, where we stand at the crossroads between comics, kung fu, and pop culture. Right? That's a five-way intersection, maybe. I'm
Exactly.
not sure.
Definitely.
Welcome, Kurtis. Thanks for
Well,
having us.
welcome, Patrick. I'll let Patrick introduce himself, and then I'll introduce myself. So, go ahead, Patrick, for the people that don't know.
All right. Well, I'm Patrick Lugo, also known as Plugo. Author, illustrator, comic creator. I spent the past 2+ decades as art director for Kung Fu Magazine.com and Kung Fu Tai Chi Magazine, the print paper. But most recently now, I'm the creator of A Tiger's Tale, the middle grade graphic novel, which won the 2022 Make More Comics grant. And whose volume 2 is expected imminently. How was that, Kurtis?
I think that was excellent.
Just off the top of my head.
There you go. And I'm Kurtis Fujita, also known as Sifu Kurtis Fujita. I'm a comic book creator. I'm also a kung fu master, a kung fu instructor, and I'm combining both those passions in my current live Kickstarter campaign for my comic book called Shadow Ghost. It's the kung fu comic by a kung fu master. So that's me, and together we are the Comics Fu Show. So, yeah. So this is our first time back for our second season. Last season we had a whole bunch of really exciting people on, including we had Brad Graber, the head of Powerhouse Animation, and Jose Figueroa, a Tai Chi master, and just tons of different people. So this is kind of our Chinese New Year event. So Happy New Year's to everybody. Happy Chinese New Year's or Lunar New Year.
Yeah, welcome to the year of the wet hair. But I hope it's a good one for all of us.
Definitely. And yeah, so Patrick, you want to tell everybody kind of what we have in store for the evening, what we're going to go over for our first show back?
Well, I think we're gonna focus on two comics in particular, right? Both of which are about to launch. One has launched their Kickstarter campaign. The other one is launching imminently. I'm referring to the former, which is A Tiger's Tale, my graphic novel, and no, that's the latter. The former is yours, Kurtis.
Yes.
Which is Shadow Ghost.
Yes. So yeah, we just launched just a few minutes before we started the live stream, so it's out there now on Kickstarter, and yeah, and maybe we'll go ahead. We can kind of start with just kind of lead in by talking a little bit about our projects. So Shadow Ghost, like I was saying, is the kung fu comic by a kung fu master. Something I've been working on for a long time. As a martial arts instructor and a comic book artist, I also wanted to combine the two passions, and I really wanted to share kung fu with a much wider audience. Thank you. Maybe the best thing is maybe I'll start with showing the trailer, and then we can kind of talk about it. Does that sound good?
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay, actually, but before we do, I almost forgot, because it is Chinese New Year. We do have some special guests and some special performances, and the first one is going to be a lion dance for Chinese New Year. Patrick, do we have the explanation of the lion dance as well as the performance?
Yes, I can provide that for you now if you'd like.
Yeah, let's go. This is our good friend Jean Ching.
So if you could give the folks a minute to give them how you know Jean Ching while I set up his little feed.
Sure. So Jean Ching is the publisher of Kung Fu Tai Chi Magazine. He's a very notable martial artist, a Sifu in his own right, and a Shaolin disciple. He trained at the Shaolin Temple. He's also a writer for many different magazines and publications, and he was even on the show Man at Arms on the El Rey network with Danny Trejo, discussing traditional weaponry and giving demonstrations of the same thing. And I know him because I was writing articles for Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine under Gene, and just had an absolutely great time, a great working experience with him. He's super knowledgeable about martial arts, swordsmanship, and all those things, and also really into pop culture. So that's kind of how I got to know Gene. So he's a great guy, and we're actually going to have him on the show tomorrow evening. So that's Gene. Maybe we'll go ahead and let's see if we can find a clip of him. Here's Gene explaining what we're going to go show you a demonstration of, which is the Chinese lion dance. So we'll let Gene take it away.
So the tiger in Chinese mythology is the king of beasts. And you can tell a tiger because it has the symbol for Wang on its forehead, which are 3 stripes with a bar down, right? And Wang means king. The lion was this mythical creature, kind of like the dragon or the qilin, even though it was based on something that was very real in Chinese culture back in the day. It was fantastic, right? Which is why Chinese lions look like these crazy dog creatures or whatever. I don't know what they look like, right? They're just so psychedelic. And so they're very different. A lot of Westerners tend to sort of look at the lion and think, well, obviously it's not a lion. So they don't want to call it a lion, even though that's the term we use. They'll call it a dragon. You want to pick off lion dancers? Oh yeah, I love the old dragon dance you did. I mean, being a former lion dancer, I'm just like, oh, well, we're going to sit down and talk about this. So it's more of the lion dance is more based on a mythical beast, right, than this real beast. You just happen to have a name or association to this real creature. And it's very martial arts. That's something I think a lot of people miss about lion dancing, is that the lion was representative of the shifu, of the master, right? The lion head was his representation. And it was a way for him to go out in community and show his Kung Fu skills through his students, right? So the master can show, but the students would show, and the students were good, well, the master's good. And so predominantly when you look at Southern lion dancing, which is the one where it's the big round head and then the cape drape, right? That is expressly designed to show the power of Southern Kung Fu. So all you really see are the stance work, right? The horse stance, the cat stance, the low, the crouching poo-poo stances, crouching stances. You see all the leg work, the kicks. The head is such that when you shake it, right, you can really show your power, your explosive energy, your fating, as they say, because it's got these little pom-poms that are supposed to be the steam on these little springs, and if you shake that head right, it not only looks awesome, but another martial artist can read it and tell where your power is. Both performers have to work without sight, just by feeling sound, because you're looking the wrong way. If you're under the tail, you're all in horse stance, all bent over, you're up, you're looking at the floor, you've got no way to breathe because you're all collapsed. So it's a test of endurance. It's a test of reflexes. You got to feel through the cloth where your head is. And it's an impromptu thing. I mean, in competitions, you'll see people will do these, where they're up on the mukjang, on the high plum power stakes, and do these elaborate forms. That's all choreographed, of course. But in the streets where these were applied, it was improv. And it was a way for a martial arts school to give their blessing to a new store or a wedding or a festival. It was also a way for that new store, that wedding, who was receiving the blessing, to make sure the martial arts was good, had some talent. My Sisok, my uncle, my Kung Fu uncle who taught me lion dance, was part of the Hong Kong fire department, which had a very intense team, because there was sort of a symbolism. Firemen and policemen have really good line dance teams. It was really hardcore, because they have to go to all these sort of government functions, and they've got to be on it with a lion. So it's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful art. It's a something that's a permutation of kung fu that because I mean some people just look at it as the dance. They don't read it. They don't understand the code.
Right. It's an application of kung fu that kind of sits outside of the martial application of combat.
Yeah, it's an expression of it that that doesn't quite. We don't give it enough face in a way, it's really hard to do well.
And
it takes amazing kung fu skill.
You had some pretty wild lion dance missions in your own right.
I did line dance for the Grateful Dead, which was probably my biggest moment. One of my biggest life moments was line dancing on the stage with the Grateful Dead. But I think everybody who does line dance, it's always a journey. It's because it's improv. So I mean, I remember one of my really dear kung fu brothers who actually fought in UFC in the early days. I was telling him, he's a Hong Kong guy, Southern guy. You got to do line dance. You got to do line dance. Like, that's silly. That's silly. And then once he got it under the head and started to do it and understood its relationship to kung fu, particularly Hong Kong, he was just like, oh, this is the stuff, man. He got so into it. And so it's one of those delightful moments when you open the door for one of your brothers and they just go whole hog into it, right?
There's a whole discussion to be had about the nature of opening those doors, right? Especially in the context of transmitting culture, moving kung fu beyond the borders of China. Its status now is as a much more international phenomenon, where
well, therein lies. I mean, that was our mission for 20 years, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
great.
That was our mission for 20 years. And then some.
Definitely. And before we continue on that thought, I know we have some people in the chat and everybody watching, feel free to chime in. So we see Jordan here. Jordan's a friend of my wife and I out in Arizona. He's an artist as well, does some great paintings. He says, cool, happy Lunar New Year. Thank you. He goes, was there one weapon you learned the most with him? I think that is the most interesting part. He said blind improv. So if I could take this one, I think for the weapons, actually, Gene and I are, I guess you could say, contemporaries of each other. We have some similar backgrounds, similar studies, but actually we kind of train separately. So the weapons are a little bit different. Some of them are similar, but Gene's very good at what he does. And blind improv, I think you're talking about the lion dance, and that's definitely the case. So the cool thing is, and Gene was kind of elaborating on it, is that the different drum beats and sounds and gongs and things like that are actually signals to tell the person whose vision is compromised within this line, you can see a little bit, to tell them to go forward, back, behave aggressively, behave passively, all these different things. So it's almost like the sonar to a submarine. And so there's this great interplay between the musicians and the martial artists inside of it. And the musicians are also martial artists, to make this whole thing come together, make this whole kind of illusion come together. And line dance is really cool. I don't know if Patrick wants to elaborate on that, but you're pretty familiar as well. So.
Oh, I mean, I just really want to focus on the fact that Gene Ching is just such a wellspring of knowledge with this sort of thing. And, the question Jordan asked, I would say, come back on Tuesday where Gene will be live with us and we could ask him directly, put into the question what his favorite weapon actually is.
Definitely. Oh, and so Jordan's elaborating. He says, is there a weapon that is most closely linked to the lion dance? That's what I was thinking. I don't know if there's a specific weapon per se. Lion dance is like, it's part performance, part ritual. Really, there's a sacred nature to it, where you use it to bless events, New Year's, things like that. So the permeation of Kung Fu into life, absolutely. There are different things where you'll take a weapon and lay it down on the ground, and it symbolizes different things, and the lion has to do some interesting things around it.
I mean, it's also not uncommon to see a pair of butterfly knives, hung on the side of a drum set. I've seen that more than once. And then I guess that the drumsticks themselves have some bludgeoning potential in the right hands.
Definitely. The lion head becomes a weapon though. Here's the trippy thing, is the lion is like more than a mascot of a school. It's the spiritual embodiment of the school and the teacher. So when two lions are are at events, there's a certain code of conduct so you don't go into a fight. And if a fight breaks down between two schools, the two lion performers have to stay inside their line for the duel. Whoever's lion head touches the ground first or gets knocked loses. So they do become a weapon in that case, if that happens. So that's kind of an interesting thing. With that, maybe we could show everybody the performance. What do you think, Patrick?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so this is a lion dance performance. Again, I was saying it's almost a ritual. It gives good luck. This is a lion dance by my personal good friend, Sifu Jeremy Hector, and his students of Lion's Pride Kung Fu. They're out in Torrance. They're also my Kung Fu brothers in the lineage of under my teacher, Raymond Wong, Grandmaster Raymond Wong. So here they are. Enjoy the show. They made this performance just for us, just for the show, just for you guys watching. Here we go.
Sifu Jeremy Hector with Lion's Pride Kung Fu. We want to wish Kurtis Fujita and Patrick Lugo success on their crowdfunding for Shadow Ghost and A Tiger's Tail. Thank you very much. Salute.
All right, thank you so much, Sifu Jeremy Hector and Lion's Pride Kung Fu. And let's see here. I think we may have just gotten a bit of spam inside the chat, so I'm gonna drop that one out. But somebody who's not spam is Jordan. Thank you, Jordan. Best trance I've heard in a while. That was amazing. It really is. It really is. It puts you in a trance-like state. It's a phenomenal art. Absolutely phenomenal. Speaking of art forms, I think this might be a good time. Let's go ahead and we're going to show the trailer for my comic book that I did the art for and the story for, Shadow Ghost, and we'll talk about it. So here we go. As a kid, I loved Kung Fu movies. So I went to Chinatown, trained with a wise teacher, and became a Kung Fu master. Sounds simple, right? Not really. My journey, like the study of Kung Fu, was as arduous as it was rewarding, filled with as many secrets as revelations and as much heartache as triumph. It's a defining moment in my life, and while I began studying Kung Fu to learn how to fight, what I discovered was a way to live. Martial arts never came easy to me. I was far from talented and even farther from being the chosen one. It was only through years of tenacious perseverance that I was able to make steady progress. And so, I was surprised when my master told me that I should teach Kung Fu and share the art outside of Chinatown. I did just that and taught Kung Fu to my own students for 20 years. I always wanted to do more to share the art of Kung Fu with others, but was limited by only being able to teach those within my immediate area. What about the rest of the world? Then one day, I had one of the deepest insights about Kung Fu. I realized that the punches, kicks, throws, and myriad of martial maneuvers are merely the delivery system for the true essence of Kung Fu, the philosophy and way of life. Having worked for years as a professional artist and storyteller in film, animation, video games, and comic books, I realized that I could draw upon this unique skill set to share my passion for Kung Fu with the greater world. And so I created Shadow Ghost, a Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. The first issue is created entirely by myself, from story and art to colors and lettering. Every panel is filled with unprecedented accuracy in its depiction of Kung Fu by a comic book creator who knows from first-hand experience what it means to be a Kung Fu master. Shadow Ghost is a martial arts coming-of-age story about a young man whose search for the truth about a legendary hero leads him to study Kung Fu, and through a twist of fate becomes part of the legend himself. For the first time in comic book history, you can immerse yourself further in each issue with Kung Fu skills technology, powered by Tiger Crane Kung Fu. Scan the QR code at the back of the comic and follow an exclusive link to an online instructional video where I teach you Kung Fu techniques featured in this series. With Kung Fu skills technology, you can do more than just read about the Shadow Ghost saga. You can become a part of it. The first issue is completely finished and ready for print. All that's needed is for you to make a pledge of support so that we can fund the printing of the first issue. Together, we can share the wisdom of Kung Fu with the greater world. Shadow Ghost is the story of Kung Fu. It's about the people, the art, the culture, and the philosophy. It's my story and the story of those that I've learned from, taught, fought, and loved. Join me and become part of the vibrant legacy in a place and time where we might not be the chosen one, but where we can make a choice to be part of something bigger and greater than just ourselves. I'm Sifu Kurtis Fujita, and this is Shadow Ghost, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. All right, that is that.
That makes me want to back it right this very second. I see it. I'm getting a notification that I'm not the only one who just backed it.
Yeah.
So that's great. Now you are currently, in fact, let's share this with everyone else. So what I'm going to do is share your page here.
Yeah.
To see that you
excellent.
have just reached $300 and you have 8 backers. The most recent of which was Aaron Humphreys, who backed it the moment that video finished playing. So,
that's awesome. Well,
kudos.
Aaron's a good friend, a great comic book artist. He actually did an illustration of my character, Shadow Ghost. So thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate that, and thanks to everybody who have backed it. We've only been live for about an hour and 20 minutes or so. So it looks like we're off to a good start. And yeah.
And one thing I want to draw people's attention to is the fact that, with this campaign being only just a couple of hours in, it's already a project we love. So let's scroll down and take a look, shall we?
Sure. Yeah, so kind of go over what we have here. So this is the main cover. That's my illustration for the main cover for Shadow Ghost. And so all there's many tiers that have that, including the digital and physical reward tiers. And as it says there, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master, literally every piece of it is done for me. There's not anybody else that's contributed to it as far as the interiors and the main cover. That's 100% me. So, yeah.
Awesome.
And as we scroll down here,
Let's look at some of this setting, but really, let's look at some of this action, shall we?
Thank you. Oh, and Jordan commented, he said, dope video equals fangasms. Well, that was the goal. So I appreciate that, Jordan. Yeah, and one thing that you'll notice is, so the idea of how I compose the fight scenes is a lot of fight scenes in comic books are almost like a montage. So usually you're getting snippets of a fight. There's not like an actual choreography that links chronologically. And so that's kind of what I've done. And that's why the format is a little bit more old school as far as the panel layouts, as opposed to huge splash pages. I wanted to have that context of the actual combat, as you can see.
Right, the value of clarity in the panel layouts allows for the dynamism to be conveyed within each panel.
Exactly. It's that idea of context, right? That's the great thing about the art form. It's not just a single image, just the context of all those images juxtaposed with each other. And these are the two of the main Sifus in the first issue, or two prominent ones. The one in green is Sifu Chan of the snake style, and the one in red is the main villain, Sifu Kingston Yam of the red heron fist. And so that's them fighting. They have a massive duel in the first issue. This is our main protagonist, Kit. Kit is talking about Shadow Ghost, the character, the main character, and the legends of him and these far-fetched tales of this immortal warrior through the ages. And his Sifu is none too pleased, as you can see. He would prefer that he focuses on his kung fu studies.
Oh man, I love it.
And and so there he is.
There, lesson 1.
Yes, lesson 1, the importance of stance work. So you can see here that's one of the things that's really important is kind of conveying those genuine aspects about what real martial arts is. So that's especially real kung fu. So that's what I'm trying to achieve there. And so
nothing spells kung fu like hard work, right?
Yes, exactly. So that's one of the unique things is, in most comic books, right, we have the fantasy is that you can get bitten like Spider-Man by a radioactive spider or be an alien, and that's how you get your superpowers. But in martial arts, you have superpowers, you have skills, but you earn them. And that's kind of the idea, is that you're going to watch the evolution of this character become the hero and earn his superpowers as he goes along. So that's kind of the genesis of that aspect that makes it a little bit unique. Yeah. And again, the action, like I was explaining in context, you can see that everything's choreographed. One thing to note here that's interesting is if you spar or you fight or you do martial arts, one of the big things is distance and range. And so what some people may not be aware is that, of course, the legs are a longer limb. So a lot of the combat will start with a kick to engage and cover ground. And then you follow up with hand strikes, which is what you see here in this page.
I'm sure that there's some saying about bridges and kicks. Right?
Oh, definitely. My favorite kung fu saying about kicks is the hand lies, the foot tells the truth. In other words, when you're doing close range kicks, you disguise your kick with a hand movement, and then you sneak the kick in. So again, the hand lies, the foot tells the truth. And Jordan says, this is really an inspiring concept. Like, you could read this comic and learn kung fu. Well, it's fascinating that you say that, Jordan, because if Patrick would be so kind to scroll down,
let's do that, shall we?
Yeah, so you can learn kung fu while doing it. So in the back of every issue is what we call Kung Fu Skills Technology, and that amazing logo is by none other than Patrick. Patrick did that great design and helped me out with that. And so with Kung Fu Skills, what it is there's a QR code that you scan at the back of every issue. When you scan that, your device goes to a video of me, the martial arts instructor, teaching you techniques from the comic book. So not only are you going to be reading this and seeing the character become the hero and acquire these abilities, but you yourself, the reader, can learn these same techniques. And as you read each issue and learn each skill, you too will develop your martial arts skill. And so that's the whole idea of the Kung Fu Skills technology, we call it. And so that's that, yeah. So Jordan says, will you have a dojo set up to start stories and volumes? Let me see. Will you have a dojo set up to start stories and volumes? Not exactly sure what you mean.
Maybe he meant to write store, like a little dojo where you can put the different volumes inside of it.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Definitely.
Oh no! It says here that what was his true comment was.
It was where you have a dojo set up to start of stories and volumes.
Huh.
Oh, here he is. He goes, like a dojo setting in the comic. My gosh, Jordan, are you reading my mind? So actually, yes. If actually, we'll skip ahead. If Patrick scrolls down just a little bit, you'll see in the concept art here, a little bit further down.
Going down, zooming all
Right there, right under the special edition. There is a dojo. There's well, we call it.
Did I miss it?
That's
Am I
okay.
scrolling too
I think we-
quickly?
Yeah, I think we went a little far down, but that's no worries. But you can actually see it, throughout the series. We call it a gun or mo gun, right? Dojo is usually referred to as Japanese karate. But yeah, that's a huge place of the story takes place in that. And he says, like a brooding house for the heroes to evolve from. That's really one of the main settings. Definitely. Jordan, I think you need to come on the show.
To find your
Oh, it's just up a bit. It's just up a hair, and then a little bit more right after this one.
There
it
is.
is. You can see the second image in that is the actual school, right? It's the Mogun, right? The martial hall, right? So yeah, and yeah. So that's kind of what we have, and yeah, those are the things, and we also have it. We have different editions available, so there's different types of things you can get with special features, things of that nature. I recently even was able to submit a copy of it to what we call the International Traditional Kung Fu Association. That's an international group of martial artists in this organization, run by Sifu Daniel Tomizaki. And they have divisions all the way in the US as well as Brazil and other places. And so they've actually endorsed the comic book for its authentic depiction of Kung Fu. So it's unique in the fact that this governing body has never endorsed a comic book before. This is the first time they feel that they believe and they agree that it's authentic in its depiction of Kung Fu and Chinese martial arts culture. So that's what that little part is about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Jordan adds, oh no, Gambit fan. Hello, Gambit fan. I really like Shadow Ghost's design. Feels very original and thematic. Thank you. That actually took a long time to figure out was his design. It's actually based off of the Taoist priests that do martial arts. And so they have this kind of almost looks like a graduation cap. But I like the silhouette. All the great character designs and characters have great silhouettes, whether it's Batman, Wolverine, whatever. So I wanted to have something that was unique, and so that's where the genesis of that idea came. So glad you like it, Gambit fan.
Kurtis, I've been looking, and
Yes.
I feel like I have to back you at the Shadow Ghost Special Edition tier.
That is a good tier. That's a great tier. So maybe we can
Are
show
my
everybody.
Are my instincts right, or
It's a great tier. Actually, if you go up with just a hair, we'll show everybody what that is, and that's actually one of the neat tiers. So it actually, the cover, as always, the interior is done by me, but the cover just a little bit above there is by Stephen Butler. Stephen Butler, if you read comic books, you know Stephen Butler, and if you don't know Stephen Butler, you know his work. So Stephen Butler has been doing comic books for decades. He drew for Sonic the Hedgehog, for Web of Spider-Man. If you're familiar, it's called the Spider Clone Saga. Silver Sable for Marvel. He did tons of stuff. So I was fortunate. My good friend and comic book mentor, Roland Mann, helped me get Stephen to do this cover for the special edition. And so you can see all the main people that are involved in the school there, and the Shadow Ghost logo in that crimson red background. And what makes it special isn't just Stephen's cover. It's actually that there's 16 additional pages in the book of concept art, illustrations, full color illustrations. So it's kind of like, for lack of a better word, it's like when you get the director's cut of a movie. So you get to see the design work, how I came up with the ideas, like Gambit fan liked Shadow Ghost design. So you can see all the character designs, background designs, all those kind of things are included inside the book. So yes, Patrick, I would agree. I think that is a good one. That would be a highly recommended tier to back.
I'm doing it now.
All right. Awesome.
Look at this. Where is it? Where is it? Shadow Ghost Special Edition.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you very much, sir. Oh, that's so exciting.
Let's see.
Yeah.
The beauty with Kickstarter is that I can come back and tinker with these details.
Yeah. You can do add-ons, all sorts of things. And for everybody watching, the big thing with Kickstarter is what's important for those of us that are creators is that first 24 hours is so important because it kind of drives the momentum. And I think it may even drive the algorithm for things. So if you're considering it, really consider it during the first 24 hours because it makes a big difference, helps the project, helps creators like myself and Patrick. So thank you. So that's what we have going on. Thanks to everybody that's been backing it. We're off to a really good start. But
the deed is done. Oh, I should be sharing that little that part. Let's see. Just proof.
There we go. We're that
You're
much
now
better.
at 338. That's pretty good for considering for the first 30 some odd minutes of your campaign.
Definitely. That makes me super excited.
And if I was on a different browser, I would hit that tweet button right here. But sorry, wrong computer. So I'll have to do that on my phone in a second.
Yeah, thank you so much, Patrick. I appreciate that. And Patrick was talking about it being a project we love. That's Kickstarter speech, right? So maybe Patrick can tell us a little bit about what project we love means, because not everybody is familiar with what that literal badge of honor means.
Yeah, it's kind of it's interesting how the whole world has been a little bit gamified, so it's kind of like earning bonus points on the effort. There's a lot of conflicting ideas as to how and why and if someone should strive to get those badges, but man, it sure feels good when you see that little blinking heart. So it's just an indication that Kickstarter likes what the project is about and really thinks it speaks to the unique mission that Kickstarter has, which is oriented towards empowering creatives like ourselves to get our projects, off the ground and into the hands of people who would be interested in them.
Definitely. And speaking of the project we love kind of honor or badge, there's another project that has gotten that badge not once but twice, and that's actually Patrick's series, A Tiger's Tale. So I think that's a nice little segue to kind of talk about. Patrick, maybe you can tell people a little bit about your project, which I believe goes live tomorrow morning. Is that correct?
Actually, it's live right this second. I very quietly just pressed the button. If you notice me shifting my head left and right, that's because I was like so excited to press it.
Okay.
So,
well,
it's live. It's
awesome.
quietly there. It's like a true tiger. It's stalking its prey. But
awesome. Well, what you want to show the trailer? Do you want to tell them a little bit about it and then show them the trailer? What do you?
I think I could just jump right into the trailer and let that do the speaking for me.
Let's do that.
And then here, where were we? Here we go.
All right, enjoy.
Hi, I'm Plugo, author, illustrator, comic creator, and the art director for Kung Fu Magazine for more than 20 years. But I'm here to talk to you about a project that's really special to me. It's the middle grade graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale. Imagine the story of tigers and dragons and martial artists and monsters. So when I launched the campaign for A Tiger's Tale Volume 1, I did not know what to expect. but it succeeded thanks to a group of passionate backers. It was also awarded the Make More Comics art grant that year and was later featured as part of an art gallery exhibit. And that's why I'm coming to Kickstarter, to cover production fees, printing, copy editing, things like that. Books completed, with the exception of a few pages I've set aside for color over the course of the campaign. This turned out to be a popular feature of Volume 1's campaign, so I thought I'd bring it back for Volume 2. I think it's going to be great fun for everyone. Hope you'll support the campaign. I'm very excited about it. Thanks for stopping by.
All right. Excellent. I absolutely love that trailer. So cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was fun and exciting to actually commit to like having an actual animator come in and work with me to build something that would, that would fulfill my vision, but also it would give me a chance to see how someone else views my work, so like it was interesting to see the things that he wanted to like focus on over the course of like developing like what would be a good 3-act play for this little 45-second
Totally.
movie.
Turned out great. And they always talk about having a good elevator pitch, right? Like that one thing you could say in an elevator when some important person is there. I absolutely love Patrick's elevator pitch for explaining what a tiger's tail is. About it, something meets something. So I'll let him do it because he's better at it than me. So.
Oh yeah, it's the Jungle Book meets the Tao Te Ching, right? But I spoke. If interestingly enough, I spoke to a copy editor friend of mine who was like, people aren't going to know what the Tao Te Ching is. Just tell them the Jungle Book learns Kung Fu.
Oh, that's true. That's kind of a little bit more broad, Yeah, Jordan just said that was a really nice presentation of the project. He goes, perfect amount of tiger imagery.
Awesome. Yeah, I like to call it's a story about how about a tiger learning to live amongst dragons, right? And if you think of how tigers represent courage, right? We all have a little bit of tiger in us. But then still, what is it that dragons represent, right? That the greatness, that thing that's always bigger than you. So the thought that, be a tiger amongst dragons, and you'll be in good shape no matter what.
Definitely. And and it is live right now. And obviously, I think we should take a look at the page. And I would like to be the first person to back it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go to share my screen. Let's see if I can get this right. And there we go. I think you folks can see it. And we'll have Patrick kind of guide us through it. So this is his campaign. Literally just launched this a couple minutes ago.
I timed this so that I would hit the button at exactly 9:29 p.m.
Excellent.
Because
yeah.
I'm just like that, right? You've noticed that my proclivities.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it works, right? Well, this is something that we didn't mention just yet to those that didn't know. So this has a lot of origins and a lot of connectivity with Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine. Maybe you could explain a little bit about that history and what that connection is.
Well, okay, so way back in the early 90s, I left indie comics just before the big boom to move to the West Coast to get a job as an art director for this little black and white magazine that was called Kung Fu Magazine. And so it was fate maybe that sent me there, but it was a scrappy magazine that I devoted 20 plus years to bringing it to the mainstream. And along the way, they were willing to let me experiment in all sorts of manner. And one of them was to launch this comic strip that people loved. It lasted for about 3 years, which was the longest running comic strip in any kind of niche magazine of that sort. It had a robot. I ended up writing an advice column in association with it, where people would write in and ask questions, and then the comic would evolve based on what we were all learning. You know, I would research what their questions were and then apply it to the comic strip. But that led to the popularity of the strip. Ultimately allowed me to take creative control and build a story that really represented, you know, what I wanted to say with those characters. And what I wanted to say was really to convey what I was learning from, you know, working with all of these amazing kung fu masters from around the world. You know, we'd be doing photo shoots with them, but then I would sit, you know, between the takes, I would sit with them and try and learn what were the origins of their martial arts style, and, you know, what was their philosophy. And I would take these tidbits of wisdom and squirrel them away in my sketchbook and try and build these comic stories, these tiger tales around these little nuggets of wisdom that the masters would just leave on the side of the photo shoot.
Definitely. And you know, one of the things that I think is so interesting and unique about Patrick's experience, right, is when you do martial arts take so much time. And usually if you're doing a style of kung fu is very sophisticated, it takes a lot of time. You'll be kind of locked into that one branch of kung fu, right? There's hundreds of different styles of kung fu. Patrick was in a unique position to be at the crossroads where he had all these people, very esteemed masters. I mean, I'll be really frank with you. There were a lot of martial arts magazines and there was a lot of kung fu magazines, but Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine always had legit kung fu masters. There's a lot of fake artists out there, but Kung Fu Tai Chi had some of the people on the world stage. So Patrick was at the crux of all this, getting all this exposure to all this information. And the fact that not only does he have that experience, but he has the skill set to convey that in his comic book format and in the story is just amazing. You know, Patrick is so good about details and symbolism. And, you know, you'll see here, you know, this iconography here. And he's very aware of the culture and, you know, all these kind of esoteric symbols and things like that. And I got the first volume and it's an absolute joy. So great stuff. Definitely.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, like Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine has the distinct, privilege to have been the first magazine to put like a Shaolin monk on the cover.
Yeah.
You know, it's been, you know, we've interviewed the abbot of Shaolin Temple. We've interviewed the abbot of Wudang Temple. You know, it's just like, so it's not just fighters, you know, I've definitely done a couple of photo shoots with UFC fighters too, but it's the monks that are coming down to the mountain that really, you know, have left an impression. And that's the impression that I'm trying to convey in my art.
Very, very much so. And speaking of that, so you were talking about this event, the 32nd annual Children's Book Illustrator Exhibition. How did that?
Yeah, so one of the quirks about my process as a comic artist is that I don't draw comic pages like most comic artists do. I draw my comics one panel at a time, so that under circumstances like a gallery show, each piece is a gallery piece, because I could just zoom in on a specific scene, a specific panel, and then just present that as a framed work of art, you know. And the thing is that half of my work is done digitally, but half of it is done analog, you know, pen and ink on paper, you know, watercolor, ink wash. So there's always something, you know, even though a piece that's framed and that's up on a wall won't look exactly the same as what it looked like on the written page. But I mean, I think that's part of an asset of the whole project.
Definitely. And Jordan's commenting here in the chat. He says that, you know, speaking of a tiger's tail, that is a story right there. He says, I love the idea of going up against the thing that threatens you most. And that's an important function. I think that is what unites you to this project. It's about teaching. And he goes, what's the format, illustrations or photos? If you're talking about for the showing, let's say that's illustrations, right, Patrick?
Those were illustrations. If you were to zoom in, some of them are watercolor paintings, some of them are used like black and white magic marker, some of them were pen and ink.
Yeah.
So that just shows like from left to right, you've got watercolor on the ends and you have black and white art in the center, just from there. But
definitely. Well, let's look at the campaign here. This was for the first one. It was very well received. And Patrick's always so great about the different kind of extras and neat things, and there's just so much care, whether it's the stickers or to the very first appearance of the Shadow Ghost comic. A couple pages were in this thing here called the Comics Fu Reader that he gave towards the end of his campaign as a reward.
Yeah, that was so much fun to be able to like include that sneak peek and to put it alongside some other comics that all kind of were trees within the kung fu forest, the Wu Lin, right?
Definitely. And that's a very common term in the martial world, is Wu Lin, the martial forest. That's part of the community, you could say, or the world that we all inhabit, and yeah, that's great right here. I love that. I love the composition. Definitely.
And so here's an example of, that's black and white line art, pen and ink. It's also grayscale marker, right? So it's marker, like a selection of markers that go from like 10% gray to 90% gray. And then it's digital color on top of that. So it's like each time it's just another layer that gets added to the art. And then there's the lettering and the writing, so like,
yeah.
For me, comics is they're meant to be read inward, right? The layers that go in.
Totally. And I love the look on this too. This with the line work, the different colored line work and the kind of, halo around the panels and stuff like that. I love how you conveyed here that it's almost like I'm watching a kung fu movie in Chinese that's being dubbed, that there's like the narrators in English by having the Chinese characters, but the English. It's such a great way to give a nod to both cultures,
Yeah, it's also like, once again, I'm not fluent in Chinese, but I put, over the years I absorbed little bits of understanding of how the characters work. And so, I try and convey it. So yeah, so that character, it's the baby that, if you were to pronounce it, you would pronounce it Wa, right? So he's a baby, he's saying Wa, right? But the translation is flower because he's in a bush. So
that's great.
Little things like that.
That's excellent. Well, I think it looks great. I think I like I said, I'd like to make a pledge in just a minute. And I love this. That's one of the big things about Kung Fu, right? Is the animals and how the human beings interpret the movements and the spirit of the animals in combat for the different Kung Fu maneuvers, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it really is it's an exploration on the Chinese zodiac, while at the same time being an exploration on, the nature of, animal Kung Fu. And definitely. So it's just, there's just such a comprehensive vision in the cosmology of martial arts that just goes, it ranges from, Chinese medicine to martial arts to cooking to flower arranging, and it's all, there's something about it, about how it's all so thematically linked.
Definitely. That's great. I love this page. That's a great page.
And here is the big reveal, right? It was all a story within a story.
That's excellent. I love is the different, this is something you don't see often enough, like the different body shapes, right? Usually in comic books, everybody has like the exact same body shape. You just slap on a different face, different costume, but you have all these different people, different ages, different body structures, that's so genuine, so great. Wow. Well, let's see the rewards here. So we have, the Hongbao, which is, red envelope, right? For Chinese New Year. You usually get that as a gift, right?
Yeah. So in this case, I'm a little bit excited because I think I figured out a way to like um give something back to someone who is not ready to commit to like adding another graphic novel to their bookshelf, and I was fortunate in my first campaign in that a few people were just willing to support the project out of the generosity of their heart. But here's a chance for someone who wants to support the project, but I can give them something back. So I've developed these one-page comic cards that'll tell a little story in one page that I could just mail them as a thank you for being a part of the whole project. Even though they weren't ready to fully commit to volume 1 or volume 2, they could still be a part of our little Kung Fu forest.
That's great. That's great. And this is, this is something, most of you probably know digital versions. Digital is great because like I have long boxes upon long boxes of comic books. And if you're a big comic book collector and you're getting older, you're starting to run out of room, and if you're married, you want to be careful that you don't take up too much more real estate in the house or the garage, and have to hear your wife upset about that. So digital is great. I buy a lot of books physical, but I do buy some digital because digital is great. It doesn't take any more real estate, right? So yeah, that's great.
And once again, it's for those people who aren't fully committed to like, adding to their collection, right? They're adding to their bookshelves. And it's, I wanted these, I worked a lot on these pages, right? So I wanted to present it. I wanted to present it as a widescreen experience as well. So
definitely.
I think
and you
those
have that for you have that for volume 1 and 2, and then you can get both. That's great. So you have your options.
Exactly. I want everyone to have a chance to be a part of it. Like that's how special this project is to me. I'm holding the door open as wide as possible.
That's great. And this is it's 90 pages. That's a lot. You figure the average comic book, 22, right? So for 90 you get 90 pages, you get a good serious story that you can kind of for lack of a better word, sink your teeth into, right?
Sink your fangs into.
Sink your fangs into.
What was amazing was that for the Kickstarter campaign for volume 1, I initially pitched a 60-page comic, but a series of stretch goals, brought it to like the whopping 90 pages, which included, it includes the comic as well as back matter. What I'm really excited about, aside from the fact that here it is, the first cover reveal for volume 2, right? I was telling you off the air how much effort it took to get the perfect cover for volume 2, and I'm really pleased with how it came out.
Definitely. And like we're saying, Patrick's so intuitive and understands like visually things in the sense that, if all the books look exactly the same, you have to get that nice sort of things looking similar and things looking different enough. And if you look, I love the composition is the same as far as the typography, but we're talking about the importance of the black and white. Maybe you can kind of touch upon that, how that relates to the crux of the situation,
Oh my God. Well, I'll tell you what, first of all, I spent years attached to the idea that A Tiger's Tale should be a black and white comic only. The reason being black and white, yin and yang, right? Like without going too deep into it, right? Yin is black, darkness, the bottom of the well. Yang is the bright sunlight. So once I had committed to coloring the comic for Kickstarter, I decided to do something wacky, which was to have my backers participate in what the finished cover would look like. I ended up designing about 3 or 4 covers, presented them to the backers, and together we came up with the cover to volume 1, which it was a beautifully iconic cover. I don't think I could have come up with it on my own. Yeah. The thing is that it created the situation of how do I follow up this cover without involving a whole, all of my previous backers. And so, some serious meditation and 3 tries. I painted the cover 3 times to finally come to this one here.
Yeah, I love it. I love that glow. you know. And this is what's cool too, right? So you can get the first one, you can get the second one, but he also offers the option to get both, you know. So there's an entry for everybody, right? And if you're like myself, you know, and you've gotten the first one, you know, you can get the second one, which I think was what I will be backing very shortly.
And second one's going to be huge, you know. It's just right off the bat. It's a 100-page graphic novel. It's going to be epic. I don't, you know, I'm biting my tongue because I don't want to spoil all the crazy things that happen in that story.
Oh, that's great. And you have these other tiers. You know, this is something that's very popular amongst collectors. I mean, you know, if you're a collector, right, and you want original art, it's not always easy to get original art, you know. You know, but this is a great thing, is these sketch variants. Maybe you can kind of explain to people what that is if they're not familiar with it, what you're doing with the cover here.
It's a blank cover that I would actually paint for them. And so what happens at conventions, it's a popular thing where the artist will sit down and ask the person what you know, what do you want drawn on your cover. So you can see two examples there where I actually reached out to those backers and kind of built a little bit of a relationship with them to kind of understand where they're coming from as readers, so that I could do some artwork on the cover that would kind of help them specifically enter the story based on what I think, you know, will appeal to them. So if you look at the cover to the right, that's a very specific martial arts character that I drew for someone who I knew would know the reference.
Definitely. And that would be Bak Mei, or Pai Mei, if you've seen the Kill Bill movies. The white eyebrow. White eyebrow is what his nickname was, right? The treacherous Taoist priest.
Exactly. Responsible for the burning of Shaolin Temple, they say.
I would say he's Darth Vader and the Shaolin monks. Or I would say Darth Vader is Bak Mei, right? And the Jedi Knights were the Shaolin temples. And Jordan's very excited. Jordan says, yeah. He goes, this whole video frame is black and white. Yeah. And he's asking, what is the size that you paint your covers?
You know, it varies, but usually about 9-inch by 12-inch. So not a full tabloid size, but a little bit larger than what the finished cover will be, and still small enough to fit on my scanner. So,
excellent. And he says, acrylic ink, or is it a Sharpie?
It's a combination of ink and gouache, right? So gouache are opaque watercolors, so they can be, with enough water, they can act like watercolor, but without the watercolor, you can treat them a little bit like acrylics.
That's great. Now, this is a really cool tier. The Unlock Your Wuxia Warrior. Wuxia is so that for those who don't know, Wuxia is the genre of martial chivalry or martial arts heroes. If you're Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or those kind of movies or novels, that's what he's referring to. And I love this. You've done some amazing stuff here. Maybe you could explain to people what they're looking at here.
Okay, so Unlock Your Wuxia Warrior. This is a super special tier, and it's something I kind of did. I added it to my Volume 1 campaign last year on a whim, and it really, people really loved it. So the idea is that I will reach out to these backers. If I don't already know them, you know, for Volume 1, there was a few friends and there was a few people who I was meeting for the first time, but I would reach out to them, survey a little bit of their interests. What is their favorite kung fu movie? What would be their weapon of choice? What kind of style do they think they would want to use? And then I would incorporate that feedback with, you know, 20 plus years. I don't even want to say, but, you know, of directing photo shoots with martial artists. You know, I've like gotten all of these crazy, amazing martial artists, you know, in front of a camera, and I've been able to just study how they move and what poses they take. And so I can combine that experience with my illustration skills to like not just capture their likeness, but to try and capture like their spirit. And I just got off a phone with one of the backers that you see on that graphic, who has been doing a daily qigong regimen as a
Oh,
result of this artwork being his inspiration. Like he liked what I was doing for the campaign. The process of figuring out what he wanted to do for his, commission
sorry.
inspired him to research some of the martial arts and some of the qigong practices, and then take it on as a daily practice now for just over a year.
That's
So I
great.
mean,
That's great.
that's just like, I can't think of a better explanation for like the transformative power of art.
But they say, that idea of visualizing things, right? Visualizing stuff, and like, what a great way to visualize your ideal self, like, or what you want to achieve, than getting really cool portrait of yourself.
Exactly. And so what happens is I'll do a digital version. I'll send them a digital file, but I'll also do a custom print that I'll treat, because like I was talking about the gallery shows that I've done, I'll send them a gallery print of the artwork with their book so that they could have something to frame or, put on their refrigerator.
That's great. That's excellent. Well, and I love this. You were just showing me this week. These are add-ons. Add-ons are little things you can throw in at the end. When you're leaving the checkout stand at a place, and there's that cool toy or something that you want to get. So this is cool. He got the actual. I'll let you say it. You explain, but this is really fun.
These are Tiger Tail brand stamped ninja stars. I have a whole box of them. More. They're rubber. They're safe, right? They're good for throwing, but they will not poke an eye out. They're
great.
just for fun. And there's a reason why ninja stars are relevant to volume 2, but if I go into detail, that'd be spoiler territory. So all I can say is that, come on, we've all imagined throwing a ninja star at the shed in the backyard. Now's your chance.
Yeah, exactly. It's guilt-free ninja stars. And you got some great stickers, and of course I have this poster in my office. Great poster, yeah, lots of great add-ons. I think before we get too much further, let me I think it's time. I think I should make my backing, and I think I glanced. I think I already semi-refreshed this. I think we already have backer, and I think I know which cheer they got. Somebody already got it looks like somebody got the Wusa Warrior. Would that be
Holy cow!
So you're off to a great start.
That's amazing.
And
I caught wind that at least one of my previous Wuxia warriors would be back.
Nice.
But nice. I wonder if they stayed up late for this occasion.
Well, for that, I think I'll make my pledge, and I think because I have number 1, I definitely need to get number 2. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get volume 2 because, as you mentioned, is 100 pages. And
100 epic pages.
Pages, and the onyx cover background, I think is the purpose. I'm gonna go ahead and select that, and I'm gonna go ahead and back it. Now you guys can see the process. It's really easy, when you want to back this. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit continue. Let's see. Oh, and actually, this is where we stop the stream because you don't need to see how many characters I have or what my password is. If it has to do with a certain type of ice cream, that's not my fault. There we go. Let me go ahead and do that right now.
And the cool thing with Kickstarter is that you can always come back and add those ninja stars later when you stay up late at night and think, you know what, a ninja star would have been the perfect thing to deal with that rattling sound outside.
Definitely. And there we go. Thank you, Kurtis Fujita. You've just backed it. That much closer.
That's awesome.
Well,
so it begins.
It does. And as we wind down, I think it would be a great time. We have another special performance by a guest, very good friend of the show, Kung Fu brother to me, musician, artist, martial artist, all those great things, Mr. Capitan Wallace. And he actually did a music video, Shadow Ghost, which we'll probably show once again in the near future. But he wanted to go ahead and give us a nice performance and give us a little bit of a talk. So here is independent recording artist Capitan Wallace.
Hi there, this is Capitan Wallace. I'd like to wish Kurtis Fujita and Patrick Lugo a good fortune and success in their Kickstarter Shadow Ghost comic and a Tiger's Tale comic book. So it's out now, check it out. Y quiero desearle mucha suerte y muchas felicidades a Patrick Lugo y a mi hermano Kurtis Fujita por su lanzamiento del Shadow Ghost comic book y el Tiger Tales. Chequenlo, están en todas las redes y chequen todo el media, el Instagram.
All right, thank you so much, Capitan Wallace. Isn't
That
great?
was awesome.
Yeah, really nice. And
That was
he
amazing.
did that just for us, so we really appreciate that. Well, we're winding down, but I'm going to have Patrick. Why don't you tell people what we have in store for the coming week and so forth?
Well, yeah, we have a big week in store for us. So first, let me say on Monday is a work day for Kurtis, but on a personal side, I'll be doing a few things live, probably some live art and maybe some Q&A with folks as they show up. But that's going to happen Monday morning, 9:45 a.m. After that, Tuesday is going to be our big day.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to start that at noon with Kung Fu Tea with Dr. John Coco. He's a acupuncturist, 2 martial artists. I met him through other martial artists who have gone to him, and he's my tea mentor. So he's gonna start our day off at noon Pacific time with some Kung Fu Tea, give us a little bit of history and show us how it's done, with a few special surprise announcements to be included with that.
Excellent.
Um, Following that, at 2 p.m., Shakuhachi Flute with Master Cornelius Boots. He was a key member of Volume 1's campaign, and he'll be coming back to share some highlights from his recent album and some other work. His Zen flute is amazing, and I'm so excited to have the chance to introduce him to you, Kurtis.
I'm looking forward to it.
What is not shown here, and I'll just mention it really quick, is that I've been invited to talk about the animated trailer, which we shared with you at the Comic Book School online stream later that day on Tuesday. So that'll be at 5 p.m. Pacific time. But then I'll be rushing back here for our Comics Fu show after dark with none other than Gene Chang, publisher of Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine and a collaborator of mine for a good number of years.
Definitely.
I have no doubt it's going to be a delightful and wide-ranging conversation, from...
Definitely. And just so you guys know, like, Gene has his pedigree in martial arts and so many things. It's just so extensive. But more than anything, Gene's just a cool guy. Like, if you want to just hang out with us and have a cool conversation and listen to some fun stories, like, Gene's the guy to hang out with. So please join us for all those shows, but definitely you'll have fun with Gene's as well.
He has traveled the world. He has traveled the world with actors and rappers. He has, forged weapons with Danny Trejo, and done line dancing for the Grateful Dead. It's just like the list goes on.
Exactly. And he's done martial. He's posed with he's interviewed RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan. So there you go.
He hung out in Shaolin Temple with RZA.
Yeah,
on location. It doesn't get more legit than that.
No, that's about it. So yeah. So we have all that in store. Again, our campaigns are live. Please check them out. Again, we appreciate everybody's support. Just remember, always the first 24 hours of any crowdfunding campaign are critical in the success. So if you're interested, please check it out. Patrick, why don't you kind of close out for yourself? Remind everybody where they can find you and all that great stuff. And yeah, go for it.
Look for me at kickstart.atigerstale.com all week, all month, honestly. Like Kurtis says, those first 24 and 48 hours are key for any support. Support doesn't just have to come in the form of money. Support is as simple as sharing our links and sharing our work on social media. We're trying to create stuff that's worth sharing, and we hope that you do and join us on this crazy 30-day journey that we'll be creating.
Definitely. And I'll give my parting words. Again, thanks everybody. Both our campaigns are off to a great start. Like Patrick said, you can support. It's not just necessarily making a pledge, it's sharing, it's coming on the live stream with us, hanging out, all those great things. Really, this is about, for Patrick and I, it's about celebration of Kung Fu. We both love Kung Fu, we love the culture, and we want to use every tool on our repertoire to go ahead and get the word out there, because it means so much to both of us. And we know if you delve into it, it'll mean a lot to you. So we really want to express that to everybody, to thank everybody. And stay tuned for all the cool stuff that we have coming up. So with that, and you can find me, before I forget, I gotta make sure, you can find Shadow Ghost on Kickstarter. Just type in Shadow Ghost. Tiger's Tail, same thing. There's the Shadow Ghost official website. That's theshadowghost.com. And if you're interested in Kung Fu or Chinese martial arts instruction online, anywhere in the world, you can join my Kung Fu Academy. We do Kung Fu and Tai Chi online via Zoom at tigercrane.net. So make sure to remember that. And we'll catch everybody next time. Tomorrow we'll be back, but we'll close out. What do you think, Patrick? Maybe we'll let everybody see the trailers one more time on the way out.
That sounds like a great idea. So stay tuned for both trailers and a little surprise something at the very end. So Don't think of it like a Marvel movie. Don't dip early,
Yeah, exactly. Post credit.
Exactly.
See you guys. Here, we're gonna start with Patrick's. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Plugo, author, illustrator, comic creator, and the art director for Kung Fu Magazine for more than 20 years. But I'm here to talk to you about a project that's really special to me. It's the middle grade graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale. Imagine the story of tigers and dragons and martial artists and monsters. So when I launched the campaign for A Tiger's Tale Volume 1, I did not know what to expect, but it succeeded thanks to a group of passionate backers. It was also awarded the Make More Comics art grant that year and was later featured as part of an art gallery exhibit. And that's why I'm coming to Kickstarter, to cover production fees, printing, copy editing, things like that. Books completed, with the exception of a few pages I've set aside for color over the course of the campaign. This turned out to be a popular feature of Volume 1's campaign, so I thought I'd bring it back for Volume 2. I think it's going to be great fun for everyone. Hope you'll support the campaign. I'm very excited about it. Thanks for stopping by.
As a kid, I loved Kung Fu movies. So I went to Chinatown, trained with a wise teacher, and became a Kung Fu master. Sounds simple, right? Not really. My journey, like the study of Kung Fu, was as arduous as it was rewarding, filled with as many secrets as revelations and as much heartache as triumph. It's a defining moment in my life, and while I began studying Kung Fu to learn how to fight, what I discovered was a way to live. Martial arts never came easy to me. I was far from talented and even farther from being the chosen one. It was only through years of tenacious perseverance that I was able to make steady progress. And so, I was surprised when my master told me that I should teach Kung Fu and share the art outside of Chinatown. I did just that and taught Kung Fu to my own students for 20 years. I always wanted to do more to share the art of Kung Fu with others, but was limited by only being able to teach those within my immediate area. What about the rest of the world? Then one day, I had one of the deepest insights about Kung Fu. I realized that the punches, kicks, throws, and myriad of martial maneuvers are merely the delivery system for the true essence of Kung Fu, the philosophy and way of life. Having worked for years as a professional artist and storyteller in film, animation, video games, and comic books, I realized that I could draw upon this unique skill set to share my passion for Kung Fu with the greater world. And so I created Shadow Ghost, a Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. The first issue is created entirely by myself, from story and art to colors and lettering. Every panel is filled with unprecedented accuracy in its depiction of Kung Fu by a comic book creator who knows from first-hand experience what it means to be a Kung Fu master. Shadow Ghost is a martial arts coming-of-age story about a young man whose search for the truth about a legendary hero leads him to study Kung Fu, and through a twist of fate becomes part of the legend himself. For the first time in comic book history, you can immerse yourself further in each issue with Kung Fu skills technology, powered by Tiger Crane Kung Fu. Scan the QR code at the back of the comic and follow an exclusive link to an online instructional video where I teach you Kung Fu techniques featured in this series. With Kung Fu skills technology, you can do more than just read about the Shadow Ghost saga. You can become a part of it. The first issue is completely finished and ready for print. All that's needed is for you to make a pledge of support so that we can fund the printing of the first issue. Together, we can share the wisdom of Kung Fu with the greater world. Shadow Ghost is the story of Kung Fu. It's about the people, the art, the culture, and the philosophy. It's my story and the story of those that I've learned from, taught, fought, and loved. Join me and become part of the vibrant legacy in a place and time where we might not be the chosen one, but where we can make a choice to be part of something bigger and greater than just ourselves. I'm Sifu Kurtis Fujita, and this is Shadow Ghost, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master.
I have with me here Gene Chang. He's a 32nd generation layman disciple of the original Shaolin Temple and was publisher of Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine. He's authored hundreds of martial arts articles and scripts for martial arts instructional videos. He's the author of the book Shaolin Trips, and he's also served as weapons expert on El Rey Network's Man-at-Arms, The Art of War with Danny Trejo. This was in 2017 and 2018. And he's been a longtime friend and collaborator. Welcome, Gene.
You know, there'd be glimmers of pop culture. I mean, when we did all those movie reviews together, that was, you know, there was crossover, and that's expanding. I mean, there's many more movies that you can see martial arts influence into their choreography nowadays than there was back in the day. But yeah, I think it's still, Kung Fu is still, everybody was Kung Fu fighting, you know. I mean, we'll never get away from that song. We'll never go away from that image. The bigger picture of Kung Fu being, you know, an art by definition, that, you know, skill achieved by a lot of hard work and a lot of time. That's a harder concept. Like, you know, you have Kung Fu in the way you paint, the way you make your comics, right? It's a whole different, it's a different level.